Hello.
Hello, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Now, yesterday we had seen this serviction model and the people part in the service sector, the service triangle we discussed. We went ahead with this service encounter. I think we stopped at this slide. Now, any doubts as far as this service triangle or the service profit chain is considered? As far as this chapter is considered, these are the important concepts or theories here. Because we would be moving to service quality ahead, which is based upon these concepts. Okay, then I would like to start next with the high contact service and the low contact service. What exactly these are? High contact services, wherein there is a possibility of customer encountering the service provider. That is, more you come in contact with the service provider. Like we took an example of a hotel. Okay, when you enter, somebody welcomes you. There is a person who welcomes you. There may be a manager, maybe a darban standing, the one who is welcoming, he's opening the door, he's welcoming you into the restaurant. Then you come and maybe you take your own place. You get seated there. Again, there is a person who comes and takes the order. When you place the order, he moves out. Okay. The person who takes the order is a different one. The person who serves the food is a different person. The person who cleans the table is a different person. And sometimes maybe the person who brings the bill is a different person. So here that is high contact service, wherein there are more than one or two personals included in case of rendering the services. Maybe in case of airline also, that is also an example of high contact services. Right from you enter the airport, the service provider takes care of you at each and every service counter. And here, at each and every service encounter, it is the perception of the customer that they should get a warm welcome, or they should be satisfied, or their expectations should be fulfilled by this contact personals. That is what is high contact service. Now, in case of low contact service, that is minimum contact or one-time contact. Minimum contacts wherein you don't have much more people who come into picture. Like you have a advisor, insurance advisor, you are in contact with only a single person. No doubt there is a total organization which is working for you behind the screen, but you come in contact with a single person and you paint the picture of the organization, or you have your own perception towards a particular service organization by just coming in contact with a single person. All the professionals, they also come into this type of services. Maybe a professional, legal advisor, they come into this type. That is the low contact service, where you don't have more people to intermingle between the customer and the service provider. That is what is high contact service and the low contact service. The next very important part, as far as this people is considered, is the service culture. The culture of the organization is imbibed in the personnel, those people who are working for the organization. The culture of the organization is imbibed into them. The behavior of employees in an organization will be heavily influenced by the culture of that organization. Now here is the duty of the organization to shape these individuals, those who are serving the customers. Now, usually we use the term, the corporate culture is the term which is used. The pattern of shared beliefs and values that give the members of an organization meaning and provide them with rules of behavior in the organization. Now, this is usually we know that this is the corporate culture. Now, in a more informal way, we can say that the way we do things around in the organization. Now, each and every person comes from a different culture. He is imbibed since childhood with different values. He has his own norms. And each and everybody of us come from the different backgrounds when we enter an organization. So, here the firm's culture is a very important part. Now, when a person is hired, the first and foremost thing which is imbibed in him, that is while giving the training, is the do's and don'ts of the organization. He's been given formal as well as informal training, so that he gives a better picture of the organization's culture to the customers. Experts have suggested that a customer-oriented, service-oriented organization will have its heart at its service culture. So culture where an appreciation for good service exists, and where giving good service to internal as well as ultimate external customers is considered a natural way of life and one of the most important norms by everyone. Now, a service culture exists if there is an appreciation for good service. Now, it does not mean that company has an advertising campaign that stresses the importance of service, but people know that good service is appreciated and valued always. A good service is given to internal as well as external customers. The promise of external excellent services to final customers will work. All people within the organization deserve the same kind of service, same kind of performance by the service provider. Now, service culture is critical to the creation of a customer-focused organization and also has been identified as a competitive advantage in many companies. Many of the service providers are known for their culture. A strong service culture begins with leaders in the organization who demonstrate a passion for service excellence. So here, it depends upon the leadership. Who is the leader of the particular organization, who is imbibing a particular culture? What are the values of the organization? Culture is what employees perceive that management really believes, and employees gain an understanding of what is important in the organization through the daily experiences they have with those people in key roles throughout the organization. Now here that a service culture cannot be developed overnight. There is no magic. Slowly and steadily, a culture grows into an organization. and it takes a lot of effort by the management to imbibe culture to a human being. So in many of the organizations, the service culture plays a very critical role. It also maintains the standards of the services. Now that is what is about the services. Now we move on to the next part, that is consumer behavior. Now we have seen this consumer behavior for goods. What is the behavior of the customer in case of goods? Now here, this is for in case of services. What is the behavior of the people? Now here, any purchase starts with the need recognition. Unless and until there is a need, a person does not go for purchasing of goods or services. The process of buying a service begins with the recognition that a need or a want exists. Now here, although there are many different ways of categorizing the needs, we have already studied in OB, different need models given by many psychologists. But still, Maslow's hierarchy is mostly recognized. Now here we have already studied this. Now from the services perspective, what all it says, we will have a look at it. Now it specifies 5 categories arranged in a sequence from basic lower level needs to the higher level needs. Services can fill all these needs and they become increasingly important for higher level, that is socio-ego and self-actualization needs. The first and foremost, that is the physiological needs. Now, physiological needs, what are those? Those are biological needs such as food, water, and sleep. We need rest. So that is what is the physiological need. The recognition of these needs is very straightforward. Okay. You are thirsty, you need water. You are hungry. Maybe you have gone for an outing or a sightseeing. It's afternoon time. You are hungry. Here, naturally, you would be looking for any restaurant wherein you can have something for your lunch. Or maybe it's a hot summer. In that case, maybe you will be looking for a thirst quenching drink, like you need some fruit juice or maybe you can have something very cold. You want ice cream or something. That is a physiological need which you will be looking for. Okay. Now, when this physiological need, okay, you are hungry, you are looking for a restaurant. There are 4 to 5 restaurants nearby, but you want to pursue by just having a glance at the restaurants in which we should enter out of 4 or 5. There are certain benchmarks which comes to the mind of the customers. Just having a look of the building, whether it's old or new. You just have a look at the board. Okay, just having at the glance, what is the name of the hotel? What does it specify? So here you start perceiving about these things somewhere. So that is what is perception. So right from this, you start perceiving about the service provider. You are traveling, it's a night time. So you need shelter, you need to take rest. So you check in for hotels. Though you had a plan to reach your destination before the night time, but somehow you were late. So here these are not planned, unplanned, but you need shelter. That's why you think of opting for such type of services, that is physiological needs. The next is the safety and security needs. Like you need shelter, protection, security. Not only a customer, but they seek all these needs for their loved ones also. That's why today the service providers like insurance is in a boom sector, because the service providers are emphasizing on the security needs. So that is what is the safety and security. Or you can say FDs, the banks. Okay, they come up with the new schemes. FDs, shares. All this is the security needs. Maybe you say for the future, that is the mantra which they want to emphasize on. Social needs, their affection, friendship, acceptance. Human being is a social person, or he wants to live in a society. He cannot live aloof. They want to spend time with their families, friends, relatives. And hence, you will find that health clubs, dance club, vacation destinations, event managements, all these services have shown an immense growth in this era. Many of the internet services that focus on social connections among people satisfy these basic human social needs. That's why we see the Facebook, WhatsApp, everything is increasing because of this social networking. People are more engrossed and they are interested in this aspect. The next is esteem or ego needs. They are especially for prestige, success, accomplishment. Now here, all the services which satisfy the inner core desire of a human being, like saloons, spas, gyms, plastic surgery, some form of physical training, weight loss, all of this come into this ego needs. The next is a self-actualization, which involves self-fulfillment and enriching experiences. The consumer desire to live up to their full potential and enjoy themselves. Some consumers purchase experiences. Now, here the customer pays for experiences like skydiving, jungle safaris. Many of you might be also fond of these things. Bungee jumping, go-karting. You pay for these services, isn't it? So all this is because of self-actualization. Your self-actualization need is somewhere satisfied. That's why way beyond you go and pay for these services. The hierarchical nature of Maslow's need categorization has been also disputed, and evidence exists that people with unfilled basic needs can be motivated to self-actualize also. Now here, the next step is the information search. Seeking information may be an extensive formalized process if the service or a good is important to the customer or it represents a major investment. Information search may be quick and relatively automatic. Now here the consumers use personal as well as non-personal sources. today the media and the internet is a major player in this, which helps the customer in information search process. Seeking information is a way of reducing risk, helping consumers feel more confident about their choices. It's more about the choices. The intangible nature of services and their high level of experience qualities imply that services generally must be selected on the basis of less pre-purchase information than in case of goods. Now here there is a clear evidence that greater intangibility increases perceptions of risk. So here many of the people, they take the risk of watching the movie first day, first show, and then they open up with their attitude towards the particular movie and spread a word of mouth publicity, whether good or a bad. Okay, it depends upon this person, but they are the one initial seekers who take the risk of watching that movie. Now, to the extent possible, service providers should emphasize employee training and other procedures to standardize their offerings so that consumers learn to expect a given level of quality, again reducing perceived risks here. Now, the next step is evaluation of service alternatives. Faced with the task of collecting and evaluating experience qualities, consumers may simply select the first acceptable alternative rather than searching many alternatives. The internet has the potential to widen the set of alternatives and already has done in some industries. This trend is most notable in airlines and hotel industries, where you have much more options available. Thus, the customer's evoked set frequently includes self-provision of service. Now, self-service via technology is also a viable alternative for many services. So, in case of many services, there is the technology which plays a very important or major role. The next step is purchasing of the services, that is the service purchase. So, after evaluating the options and the alternatives, you think of purchasing the services. The service is purchased most of the time, produced, experienced, and then evaluated almost simultaneously as with a restaurant meal or live entertainment. So here in this case, it is purchased most of the time. If you want to, I gave an example of a movie. If you want to watch a movie, first thing what you do is you purchase the ticket and then watch the movie. Reverse is not the case. Now this is true for even vacation tours also, home remodeling, and ongoing services such as health club memberships. Because of inherent risk in purchase decisions for services, some providers offer free or you can say discounted trials, initial trials or facilities. In business-to-business situations, trust in the provider is paramount when customers sign long-term service contracts, and frequently the contracts themselves spell out in detail the service level agreements and penalties for non-performance. So in case of B2B business also, these contracts play a very major role. That is what is expected from the client, from the service provider, is on the written document. So once you purchase the service, the next step is the post-purchase evaluation. That is after the purchase of the services. What is the evaluation of the customers? Now, customers form an evaluation that determines to a large degree whether they will return or continue to patronize the service organization. As rightly in the yesterday's discussion, I said, a satisfied customer is a loyal customer. He again visits the particular organization and renders the services. If the customer is not satisfied, then definitely he is not going to come also and He will not suggest other customers or other his peer group also of rendering these services from the particular service provider. So here, for the word of mouth communication or publicity, satisfaction of the customer by the service provider is very, very important. The customer should have a positive attitude toward the service provider. Otherwise, again, there will be a problem. Now, these were the steps for the purchasing of services. Now, again, we spoke this of individual buying. Now, in case of organizational buying of services, it's easy to convince a single client or a customer. But in case of organizational buying of services, there are more people who are decision makers. That is, more people are involved in decision making. That's why many a times it takes time for the service provider to convince these people about the services. Since it's on a large scale, there is a more requirement is there. So here a detailed thought is given by the customers. Many a times a technical person is involved. Now here you can take an example of maintenance of softwares, purchasing of softwares, maintenance of machinery. All these are services wherein the organizational buying takes place. Maintenance of equipments, medical equipments. In case of government or institutional buyers, okay, again there they have the different set of problems. There is involvement of more paperwork or documentation. Usually they have their own set of procedures or protocols to be followed. That is, they may have invite a tender or a bid as far as the services are considered. So this is about the organizational buying of services. Now, the next very important part is about the service quality. Now, exactly what is the service quality? Now, service quality, it's a combination of two words, service and quality, where we find emphasis on the availability of quality services to the ultimate users. Quality is the focus on standardization or the specification. The term quality focuses on standard or specification that a service generating organization promises. Now, we can't have a clear-cut boundary for quality. Sky is the limit in this today's technology-driven era for the quality generation. Scientific inventions and innovations make the ways for generation of quality. More frequency in innovations, less gap in the process of quality upgradation. The created quality shapes the boundary of expectations of the customer, since the users tasting the sweetness of world-class services expect the same from other organizations too. Now, suppose a customer renders a service from a particular service provider. He has and he's totally fully satisfied. So he benchmarks on the quality, and next time when he visits, maybe he expects the same quality standards from the other service provider also. That is what is the problem. The expectations pave the avenues for satisfaction or the dissatisfaction. If we succeed in fulfilling the expectations of the users, they are found satisfied, and the satisfaction makes the ways for increasing the market share here. It is right to mention that the service quality satisfaction is the outcome of the resources and activities expanded to offer service against the expectation of users from the same. Now here the service quality can be broken down into two aspects, that is technical quality and functional quality. The service generating organizations are required to identify the reasons entitled behind mounting dissatisfaction among the users and to activate appropriate measures to minimize it. The technical must draw our attention on the inventions and innovation in the field of technologies that help improve the quality of services. It focuses on the use of technology or prefer to have a technology-driven service. The functional measures gravitate our attention on improving the quality of services offered by the employees, which pave ways for style of functioning, work culture, formulation of a profitable package of the employees. Now, the frequency in the process of technological innovations, the growing influence of high performer employees develop technology driven and user friendly service with a new quality. That is what is the service quality, that is the output of the service delivery system. Now, the functional quality of employees. We spoke about technical quality. Now, functional quality of employees can be improved by strong emphasis on behavioral areas such as attitudes, service mindedness, accessibility, interpersonal relations, their appearance, and their commitment towards rendering the services. It is right to say that poor quality of services are not designed into the system by choice of the senior management. The top management and senior executives held the responsibility of shaping the perception of service quality by promoting the use of technologies and increasing the number of personally committed employees. This makes it essential that the service generating organizations prefer to practice the principle of making things happen, which focuses on quality generation. Service quality is generally viewed as the output of the service, especially in case of pure service systems, like we spoke of legal advisor or a consultant. Now, this service quality is linked to customer satisfaction. When the quality is up to the mark, then only we say that the customer is satisfied. Although there is no consensus in the research community about the direction, about quality and satisfaction, still it's a common assumption that service quality leads to satisfied customers. Now, for example, the customers leaving a restaurant or a hotel are asked if they were satisfied with the service they received. If the answer is no, one tends to assume that the service is poor. And if anybody says yes, that means the customer is definitely satisfied here. Now, service quality can be defined by keeping into view the four perspectives: excellence, value, conformance to specifications, and meeting or exceeding the expectations. Although the mark of an uncompromising student and high achievement, the attributes of excellence may change dramatically and rapidly. Excellence is often externally defined. That is what is about the excellence of service. When we say it's about the value of service, it incorporates multiple attributes, but quality and value are different constructs. One, the perception of meeting or exceeding expectations, the other stressing benefit to the recipient. So here, that is what is the major difference in between both of them. Conformance to specifications. It facilitates precise measurement, but users of a service may not know or care about internal specifications. Conformance or specifications, that means when you think of expectations from the perspective of customers, you need to meet those standards. That is, you need to conform whatever is up to the required mark of service. Meeting and or exceeding expectations. This definition is all encompassing and applies across service industries, but expectations change and may be shaped by experiences with other service providers. Now here, this is what we can say the customer, if a customer is very much satisfied, exceeding the expectations. If the service exceeds the expectations of the customers, then we say that the customer is delighted here. Now, most of the marketing and researchers have concentrated on this last perspective. The GAPS model of service quality reflects that perspective and offers service organizations a framework to identify services in form of gaps that exceed, that is, or fail to meet the customer's expectations. So when there is a gap between the expectations and the services, then we say the customer is not satisfied. So here there are these two bridges. Now here, Surraman developed the model in 1985. Now this is a very famous model which reflects the uh, customer gap model. Okay, this is very important part of the services. Many of the students, those who have taken the topic of customer satisfaction, for them this is very essential to understand these gaps in the services. So when you say we are studying the customer satisfaction with respect to particular service, so it is expected that you find out these gaps in your projects. Now here, this is the figure of the service quality model. That is through the word of mouth communications, maybe that is one of the information search which is pursued by the customers. They have their own personal needs. Okay, that's why they get into the area of purchasing the services. When you think of purchasing the services, you expect something from the services. So perceived level is different, expectation is different, and the service delivery is the next part. Actually what you get, that is different. Many a times the beliefs are shaped by the past experiences. So here, the first gap is the listening gap. Now understand this concept very carefully. Difference between consumer expectations and management perceptions of consumer expectations. See, uh, the first listening gap, that is what are the expectations of the customers. An organization or the service provider, he should understand management perceptions of customer expectations. So here, what is expected from the customer is not clearly understood by the service provider. That is what it means here. I think there is very less than a minute is there. It's better if I continue in the next session, since this is very important topic. Okay, one more thing I want to tell you.